I am Victoria, Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and later Empress of India. My life began on May 24, 1819, in Kensington Palace, London, as Alexandrina Victoria, though few could have predicted that I would become the monarch who presided over one of the most transformative eras in human history. Mine was a life marked by duty, personal triumphs, and profound sorrow, as well as my era, that would bear my name, the Victorian Age. I was born to Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, and Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. My father was the fourth son of King George III, and when he died suddenly just 8 months after my birth, my mother and I were left vulnerable. My early years were spent under the strict and isolating Kensington system, a set of rules devised by my mother and her ambitious advisor, Sir John Conroy. The system kept me sheltered from the world, controlling my every movement. I was not allowed to play with other children freely or even walk down the palace stairs without someone holding my hand. This suffocating regime bred loneliness, but it also forged in me a sense of independence and resilience. Despite their control, I secretly cultivated my will. Even as a child, I understood my destiny, especially after the deaths of my uncles placed me next in line for the throne. On June 20th, 1837, at the tender age of 18, I was awakened with the news that my uncle, King William IV, had died and that I was now queen. It was a moment that shaped me forever. I remember the weight of the crown bearing down upon me even before it physically graced my head. In my diary, I wrote of the overwhelming sense of responsibility, but I also felt liberated. At last, I was free of my mother's control and Conroy's influence. My coronation took place on June 28, 1838, at Westminster Abbey. The grandeur of the ceremony dazzled me, yet I was acutely aware of my inexperience. I relied heavily on my advisors, particularly Lord Melbourne, my first Prime Minister, who became a trusted mentor. Under his guidance, I learned the intricacies of governance, though I quickly realized that my role as monarch was not to rule but to reign, to provide moral leadership and a unifying presence for my people. One of the most defining chapters of my life began when I met my cousin, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. He visited England in 1839, and though we had met briefly as teenagers, it was during this visit that I fell deeply in love. It was I who proposed to him. Such is the privilege of a reigning queen, and on February 10, 1840, we were married at the Chapel Royal in St. James's Palace. Albert became the center of my life, not merely as my husband, but as my most trusted confidant and partner. Together, we had 9 children: Victoria, Albert Edward, Alice, Alfred, Helena, Louise, Arthur, Leopold, and Beatrice. Each child was a link in the intricate web of European royalty, earning me the nickname, the Grandmother of Europe. Albert was not content to remain a ceremonial figure. He took an active role in promoting education, science, and the arts. The Great Exhibition of 1851, a marvel of industrial achievement, was largely his brainchild. Our marriage was a true partnership, though not without its struggles. We quarreled, often over political matters, but our bond remained unshakable. His death in 1861, at just 42, shattered me. I plunged into deep mourning, retreating from public life and wearing black for the rest of my days. Albert's death left me bereft. For years, I avoided public appearances, delegating royal duties to others while I grieved in private at Balmoral Castle in Scotland or Osborne House on the Isle of Wight. My withdrawal earned me criticism, with some questioning whether I was fit to remain queen. Yet, even in my sorrow, I remained steadfast in my devotion to my country, working behind the scenes to ensure stability. During this time, I formed a close relationship with John Brown, a Scottish servant at Balmoral. His companionship provided comfort, though the nature of our relationship remains the subject of speculation to this day. Some called him the Queen's Stallion, a nickname that caused me great embarrassment. My reign saw the British Empire reach its zenith. The phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire," became a reality as we expanded our dominion to India, Africa, Canada, Australia, and beyond. In 1876, I was proclaimed Empress of India, a title that symbolized the vastness of our empire. Yet, I often felt conflicted about the human cost of imperialism. While I celebrated the advancements and unity the empire brought, I could not ignore the suffering of colonized peoples, though these concerns rarely translated into action. Domestically, Britain underwent a period of profound change during my reign. The Industrial Revolution transformed the nation, bringing new technologies and wealth, but also exposing the grim realities of urban poverty and child labor. Reform bills extended the vote to more men, and movements for women's suffrage gained momentum, though I was personally skeptical of the latter. Science, literature, and innovation flourished, with figures like Charles Darwin, Charles Dickens, and Florence Nightingale shaping the era. By the late 19th century, I was not just a queen, but a symbol of continuity in an ever-changing world. My family's marriages linked me to nearly every royal house in Europe. Yet, this interconnectedness could not prevent the rivalries and tensions that would later culminate in the Great War. Though my later years were filled with honors and celebrations, including my Golden Jubilee in 1887 and Diamond Jubilee in 1897, I was deeply aware of my mortality. My health began to fail, and I reflected often on the immense changes I had witnessed. When I ascended the throne, Britain was a largely rural nation. By the twilight of my reign, it was the world's preeminent industrial and imperial power. I died on January 22, 1901, at Osborne House, surrounded by my children and grandchildren. With my passing, the Victorian age came to an end. I had reigned for 63 years and 216 days, the longest of any British monarch, until my great-great-granddaughter Elizabeth II surpassed me. History remembers me as a symbol of an era marked by progress, empire, and moral rigor. My life was not without its flaws. I could be stubborn, prejudiced, and deeply conservative. Yet, I always sought to fulfill my duty to my people, striving to embody stability and dignity in a time of immense change. I was Victoria, wife, mother, widow, and queen, and through triumph and tragedy, I endeavored to live up to the responsibility placed upon me. My reign was not just my story, but the story of a nation that transformed itself and the world.